When I moved to UK, I started seeing that what we were trying to do at that time wasn't any different from what the guys in Silicon Valley were selling. Literally nothing so unique.
So I just want to understand, what is it exactly that would have made a difference if you had have stayed on the continent?
Maybe two things. So one, it's not that there's not enough money on the continent. All our pension funds have money. They sit on lots of money. But this asset class, which is high risk, is not their cup of tea. Sometimes you find startup investors telling you that they're not finding pipeline. And then you talk to bankers, they also tell you they don't have deal pipeline. But then you talk to farmers and they say, oh, we cannot get access to funding. We thought that in the startup world or in the tech space, we have an issue with VC money. We've been sold a lie. Now, think of it in our context on the continent.
We're not confined with stock.
You have, no, just knocking on 5. You have 5. You're lucky if you have 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we have the talent, but we have a long way to go.
Somebody would come and start preaching that and say, hey, if it's not there, just disrupt the thing.
There are places where you can create market, and there are some that you just can't. If I'm going to attract money, there are requirements. There's due diligence that is going to be required. There's a preparation, shareholder agreements.
Is this thing for everybody?
No, but that's why we invested in education.
Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been a long time. We keep meeting each other at events, but we never really get to sit down and really dive into a lot of these topics that we're going to talk about today. So I'm very excited about that. But before we get there, what's been up in your life? What's happening?
I got married.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was last year. So now the question from all the elders and the friends and when I getting married.
Yeah.
That now has been answered.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have more questions later, but for now.
Is it worth it?
Yes, it is.
You know, I mean, I gotta ask. Huh?
It's good to ask, but I think this is where the answer has to be a yes.
Exactly. Otherwise you get in trouble.
Yeah. No, I can read up confirm no did.
Exactly. What is it? No comment. Cool. Alex, you are doing a lot for the Rwandan technology, ecosystem, right? You're very passionate about this. You've been working on this for many years, but also, just really building up Rwanda to be on the stage as other African countries in terms of technology advancement. Before we get into that exactly, right? Let's get the context of Alex, right? Let's understand early life of young Alex. What did Alex want to become? What was he thinking about, let's say, after high school or, during that time? What did you want to become?
So it's funny, maybe, I think back, I could say there's a time after just at a O-level, when one of our family friends got a job at Milcolin, and she was using a computer. And she was, they said, oh, she's learning, it's back in the 90s. And she works with the computers and I said, she can do all these things that we see in the movies. Because all I thought was someone who does computers does all the things that I see in the movie, and they are as intelligent, and they can find this and hide this. And so a seed was planted in a way. But little did I know that that's a seed that was planted. So in high school, I did sciences and concentrated on sciences. And sometimes I felt like, oh, maybe I'll be an architect, or I'll be a statistician, or I had family friends who were then at Makerere doing statistics, and I would visit, though I was still in O levels, so I would visit, go to the halls of residence and chat, and it felt like, yeah, this is a cool stuff. Then some of their colleagues would come. Oh, they're in engineering. Oh, then that becomes the exciting. Oh, so and so and so much. He's an engineer. And say, I think that's a good. But so after O level, I had a group of friends, my classmates, and we started applying to the US, to US colleges, and then we didn't know a lot. We thought, okay, I think this university could be good. Let's apply, or the scholarships, let's apply. So we sent like a lot of mail, not email, mail, and we received back lots of them with guidelines. Oh, this is what you do. You pay X amount of money. Sometimes we didn't have the money, but and when they send the catalogs, you go through and you realize, oh, these courses, oh, there's computers.
Yeah.
And they introduced computers in our high school at A level. So we started playing around, going to the lab. And so that further, got into me. So when I went to university, so at university I was admitted for quantitative economics, and a few of my friends, the same group, were in faculty of science, but they're doing math and computer science, and so basic sciences, and we still had computer classes within that, but within the quantitative economics cohort. But I felt like it wasn't enough. It wasn't getting me to where I wanted. And luckily, our faculty was close to the computer science labs from the Department of Sciences. So I would frequent the place, and then one day, actually was, I think, we had finished first semester exams. It was a short break, and I was just at campus, and I go to that faculty and the lab to use their computers, and I see a big announcement. Introducing BSc computer science for the first time at Makerere. And I just had the conviction. I say, God spoke to me. Apply. That's what you've been wanting to do. Because I'd been still applying. I'd applied to some UK universities, and they'd given me, courses that I was not interested in. So then I said, okay, so this is it. So I applied and kept quiet. Didn't tell anyone, didn't tell my friends, didn't. And so after the break, actually during the break was still continuing. One of my friends bumps into me and say, I saw your name on the list of admitted for people admitted for computer science. What is that? No, I said I rushed to campus, went check. Yes, I had been admitted to change course, mm-hmm. And that started my more or less my story. That weekend, my mom calls me. She lives in the UK, so even then she was in the UK. She calls me and she's like, and I'd not told her. She's like, I have a computer here. What would you would that be something that is relevant? And I'm like, okay, this is the perfect time to tell her I have changed. I have changed course. So that's really how that curve starts out, and more or less dropped quant economics, QE, and started the computer science.
Very interesting.
So, and that's been the journey. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people are interested in, especially technologies about computers for different reasons.
Yeah.
I think there are people who are interested in the mechanism of computers, right? And what you can do in terms of, let's say, robotics or devices and whatnot, the electronics part of it, right? And other people are interested in how you can build, software that can actually, make different processes much simpler or more efficient. What was attracting you in computers in that sense?
It was the, what do you call it? It was that CIA.
those numbers, those green numbers. And
yeah, it was that someone can find something, from hacking to building things to automation. I remember being in class and I'm thinking about, you could automate this, you could automate this. And I went to my church and told my pastor, we could do this. And we could build a website and membership and managing the church members, but also the choir, how timing and all this. And it's like, okay, so go ahead. So we, again, I found one of my colleagues, my friends that were going to uni with then. So we built something. It didn't come close to all the integrations that we wanted to have, but we built it. And then a recommendation to another pastor. And then, so then I found myself in that. Then when I started going back, so when we had to do internships, then I had this company that was assembling computers in Uganda. So I went to do an internship there. So we started building. He would bring in the pieces. It's really desktops, putting together motherboards, memory, and power, everything, and then he sells them. And then provide support as well. So that also now began intriguing me. So with one of my classmates, I started finding gigs. So there's this bank, there's this school that has computers. They are not working. Okay, we can go do maintenance. So a little bit of each. Then when at the parliament, then I got bored with that and said, there was an opportunity. So one of my friends again calls me, says, there's room at the Uganda Parliament for an intern, and they will be managing the network and everything. And I said, okay, they'll be working with system admin. And so I jumped ship, moved to that guy. And got bored quickly because you always sat in the office and waiting for people to call, this is not working. Yeah. If you've watched IT Crowd, if you watch the IT Crowd, it was like those guys in the basement, and they're getting my internet is not working. Have you tried switching on and off? Okay, let me come. It's not plugged. The power is not plugged. Or then
the printer cannot work.
The printer is not working. I got bored of that, and then I got up. But there was always that thing that was running at the back of my mind. Even with my friends, I remember one of my friends had gigs with an ISP. And at that time, they were using line of sight, beam. Basically, it's like a beam, like infrared. Yeah. And I think that time that building was the tallest building in Kampala, the NSSF building. And we climbed up to it. And just because that's where the towers, the base stations and were. And then they had to connect with the rest of their network in the city. And so there's always, and I'm still in touch with some of these guys, and they've moved on they're still in tech. But I think that's what built up the interest. And then when I moved to UK, I started seeing that what we were trying to do at that time in Uganda, or what my colleagues and some of the smartest guys actually that I've met in school were doing, wasn't any different from what the guys in Silicon Valley were selling. Literally nothing so unique. So I started reading books. I was reading about the .com bubble. There's a Diners Club. There's a book about that, on how a network of angel investors led by Steve Case used to invite entrepreneurs to come and pitch over dinner to investors, and they would put in money, and how those companies skyrocketed during the boom, and how then some of them crashed, but some of them survived. And then I said, what they were pitching was less than what some of my friends were building. Yeah. So that really sold the belief that what we have, the talent we have on the continent, or the talent at least we had in Uganda, was not any lesser than the Americans or the West. And that time, some of my classmates had gone to study abroad, and they were they were ahead of their classes. So, and these are top universities. Yeah. And that proved to me that what we need to do is maybe not so different, but it's just opportunity, and bringing the opportunity closer. So, and that's been always at the back of my mind. And so when I came back, I was plugging into I was working on that basis. Yeah. And I don't think we're yet there, but at the same time, we've made quite a lot of progress.
Yeah. Are you of the belief that, specifically talking about the realization that you came up with, which was the talent that was in Africa at that time wasn't any different from anywhere else. Are you of the belief, there's a lot of trends going on where people talk about that if Elon Musk hadn't left, South Africa to go to Silicon Valley, maybe it would have never been he would never. I don't need to ask. I know for a fact that he don't have made. But tell me about that a little bit, right? What is it? Is it the exposure? Is it the market that is a lot more advanced? Because again, I'm also thinking that a lot of people who have the talent and they're stuck somewhere in a village, somewhere in Africa, it's not their fault. And then who's telling them that, hey, if you take this to the UK and London, maybe you might be better. So I just want to understand, what is it exactly that would have made a difference if he had have stayed on the continent?
So then maybe two things to look at it. So one, it's not just location. Okay. So there is him being in South Africa, and he would have succeeded. He had already succeeded at a number of things, even within South Africa. Okay. But there's a cap. Okay. And I use the agriculture maybe so there are some seeds, if planted in a certain environment, they will only grow to a certain level. Some will not grow at all because that environment does not fit. And it won't matter how much irrigation you do, how much whatever fertilizer you add. If that crop doesn't match with the soil, it's just not going to work. As a matter of fact, one of my friends, so he comes to me, he says he loves coffee and he wants to invest in coffee. So we go buy a chunk of land in Kayonza. And so we do basic soil tests, takes to the lab. And the lab, the first results say, yeah, it may. And then the guys say, okay, let's come on the ground and actually run more tests. They run more tests. And they say, no, coffee can't grow here. But just across like maybe 2 or 3 kilometers, there's another place where coffee was growing. So all to say that some things or some talent, some capabilities, they just won't succeed, or he would not have succeeded. Not because of so many other things, but because there's a cap. But also because the environment he moved to is more fertile, is more enabled. And this enablement is partly what Asimoto tweeted the other day. Yeah. So you have systems that work. Okay. So whereas in some environments on the continent, although you have the talent, you find that systems don't work. Okay. How long does it take you to do integration? How long does it take you to do whatever? Just think about it. Okay. So maybe transport. Okay. So you'll find if it's transport, there's a network of vehicles. There's a clear process on how I can contract maybe delivery companies, maybe even those that are not in the delivery ecosystem. I can onboard them and things will move quickly because over time they have built, one, the capabilities, but also with the capabilities or the hardcore infrastructure that has gone in, there's also the knowledge base. So if you don't have the capabilities, you don't have the infrastructure, you also don't have the knowledge base that will enable certain things to work. And this comes back to partly the VC investment space. So it's not that there's not enough money, okay, on the continent. All our pension funds have money. They sit on lots of money, okay? They invest it in real estate, mostly, and maybe treasury bond bills and government bonds. So, but this asset class, which is high risk, is not their cup of tea. You have
the UK and London, maybe you might be better. So I just want to understand, what is it exactly that would have made a difference if you had stayed on the continent?
So then maybe two things to look at it. So one, it's not just location. Okay. So there is him being in South Africa, and he would have succeeded. He had already succeeded at a number of things, even within South Africa. Okay. But there's a cap. Okay. And I use the agriculture maybe so there are some seeds what other sectors or for infrastructure, affordable housing, but that money if you ask how much of that has been spent so far, okay, in that direction, they'll tell you, oh, they don't have pipeline. So sometimes you find startup investors telling you that they're not finding pipeline. And then you talk to bankers, they also tell you they don't have deal pipeline. But then you talk to farmers and they say, oh, we cannot get access to funding. So we thought that in the startup world or in the tech space, we have an issue with VC money, but also the banking, where you think, oh, but this is collateralized. There's a collateral, Chibanza, the land title and all these things. So how come they're not getting access to the, to credit? So then it feeds back to your earlier questions. So systems not working, okay? A part plays a big role, in how that talent, is going to thrive, or that seed, whatever it is going to thrive in an environment. And for that case, Elon could have had all those brilliant ideas, okay? So if you look at the solution he built, a zip something.
Zip 2, I think?
Yes. So, I mean, it's pre-Google Maps. Okay. But how would it have worked in South Africa? Okay. Even with the advancement back then. Okay. How would it have worked? But in the US, it could work because they have a system for cab drivers. Okay. They have a system, a well-established, transport network. Okay. That is decades, if not centuries old. So you realize that he's plugging into a network that is well-oiled and works there. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have challenges, that it's a smooth sail and so on. But that is easier than. So, I'll pick on the comment, I think, just one of the stories from Starbucks founder, who said that he knocked on 100+ doors for funding before one door opened for him. In the United States, he knocked on 100 doors. Not with people who may have money, who could have money, or he suspects or he assumes have money. No, people who have money. He knows that this company, this person or this organization has money, and and still didn't get funding until maybe 100+.
Yeah. Okay.
Another friend of mine in Israel told me the same story. Okay, before he got funded. Now, think of it in our context on the continent.
We're not on fire, I was talking about.
You have, no, just knocking on 5. You have 5. You're lucky if you have 5.
Yeah.
Okay. An entrepreneur is come to me, I'm looking for 100K, I'm looking for 5K. As a guy, I really felt bad for not being able to help, because I could see he has revenue, he has a model that is working, and he needs a bridge of about 10 to 20,000, okay, to make it. And I called, talked to this person, and still couldn't find him money. Yeah. So you now realize that it's harder. Okay. So yeah, the talent is here. Yes, we have the talent, but we have a long way to go. Yeah. And sometimes it's even unfair to compare ourselves with with markets that are centuries old,
But then somebody would come in and say, market creation innovation,
market creating innovation.
You know, somebody would come and start preaching that and say, hey, if it's not there, just disrupt the thing.
Yes. It has its place, and it has, there are places, there are areas where you can create market, you can create the market. And there are some that you just can't. And there are some that which will be too expensive for you to be able to create the market. And that's where you find that even in those advanced markets that we want to emulate, you find that there's a lot of government interventions. Someone, I think, made a comment recently, was saying, our farmers are always complaining, asking for government support, and say, okay, tell me an economy that does not subsidize farmers. You go to Europe, they have massive subsidies for farmers. You go to North America, they have massive subsidies. Now, I'm not saying that we should keep them subsidized, but there are certain market structures that sometimes just won't work, not because your local market isn't working, but maybe because your neighbor is subsidized, or your neighbor has a bigger advantage, that you cannot match. Okay, so if you're competing with Zambia in corn production, maize production, you're going to lose. They have like tens of thousands of hectares. Okay, flat land, easily irrigatable, and the decades of experience, and decades tens of years from experienced farmers, commercial. Who are doing this commercially. So definitely their maize is going to be cheaper than your maize on any day. Yeah. So what are you going to do with that? Yeah. So you need, so there are markets, there are places where you can create markets, and you need to find your niche. Maybe where do I have advantage? Even when you want to create these markets, where's my advantage? And is it possible that we can create a new market from this, or it's not possible? And then remember that sometimes even in market creation, you may need jump starting. The work, for example, that is going into building sports facilities. Look at it. That, going back to now it makes a lot of sense for me to start a club, a basketball club, maybe as a business. Okay? And that goes on to compete in this because there's a clear exit. They'll play in BAL, or and then they will get visibility, and maybe NBA will scout them, or someone else will scout them. When the stadium is complete, Mahoro, then maybe that's also going to open up new opportunities in the creative space. You see the investment that has gone into the arena, BK Arena, especially on the music side. Now you can see even I think yesterday I was reading on the gospel music artists are filling up stadium venues. Yeah. So that means there's the market creating. Okay. It's not a one-man show. Okay. So it's an ecosystem play that you need pieces to come together. But if part of that value chain is broken, okay, is inaccessible, it becomes like some of the places or locations where, the road is cut in half. Now I can't go to the other side. Okay. So that is, I think, the myth, or maybe the misinterpretation okay, we get when we are talking about market creation. Yeah. And I like the book, The Prosperity Paradox, which has the theory, but also it takes years. The examples that are in there, yeah, they took years. When they talk about Toyota or they talk about the Nigerian film industry, Nollywood, or the spaghetti, I think Indomie. So all those take time. They've taken time. We can only know in hindsight that it worked.
Yeah.
Then we can build a theory around it. Okay. Now, for us, we also need to figure out what's that market. Maybe someone is going to come and write a case study on the stadiums.
Yeah.
Okay. And write, how that has worked. Okay. And how it's going to spark innovation or going to spark business and development. But mice, what has happened with KCC opening and all these big events that have been happening there and the growth in that. So, but you can only do it in hindsight. You can only, or Steve Jobs said, you can only connect the dots backwards. And not forwards.
But that raises another interesting aspect to look into, right? Which is, so what is the advice now for builders, for innovators, right? Is it because you just made a very good point about the stadiums, now it opens up opportunities. Is it wait for when the government will have enough money to invest into this specific area for you to be able to start thinking about ideas? Is it, because also there's this big thing in entrepreneurship, you've met a lot of entrepreneurs, spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs. Not a lot of them read government reports or read about where's the government budget going. They don't really read about these things, right? They're builders, they're excited about an idea, they jump with it, right? Yeah. And also, to give it up to a lot of the innovators, a lot of people have succeeded because of their enthusiasm and relentless in working on something.
And their ignorance.
And their ignorance, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it works in your favor, right? Because maybe you're passionate and people are like, oh yeah. That was actually great. And then you build up a market. But again, I like what other people always say about that, is that it's not... You only read about the success story of the 1%.
Yes.
99 businesses had to fail for those 10 people to be sitting on that panel and talking about their successes, right? We're not talking to the people who try that same market and still failed miserably.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm trying to understand is, for entrepreneurs, is it looking at, okay, I'm in this market, what is happening? Right. And sometimes taking that step back, entrepreneurs are not sure about it. And I'm starting to develop a theory in my head about how to approach entrepreneurship. So the theory is you can either approach it as an artist, or you can approach it as a scientist, or you could be a mix of both. And both of them are needed in different stages of your business. So number one is the artist. What does an artist do? They get creative. Yeah. They design a painting, or they record a song. And they impose that song to the world. They don't really go around doing market research.
Right? You love the song if I
if I rap in this verse, will you like it better? Like nobody does that, right? So they just release it and they impose it to the world.
Yeah.
But then scientists, they look at a problem. They're like, they do not assume anything. They're like, I'm not going to assume that I'm good at anything. I'm just going to really look at the problem and test different variations until I come up with a cure to this disease or, a solution to the problem. Obviously, you have to use both of those at different stages. But I want to understand from your side, for entrepreneurs who are like, well, what's the advice here? If market creation is really hard and expensive, I don't have resources.
I can't wait.
Should I be sitting down waiting for the government to invest in mice for me to be like, oh, now I can create an event business? Or there's another hack to that?
I think it's multiple ways. And the other day I was chatting, like yourself building a theory. But I've been looking at how have the successful companies in our market gotten to become successful. What are those pathways to success? Either by the founders or by the group, by the teams, and you find that some of it is just people continuing to build, okay, irrespective of what challenges they're getting. Their friends drop, go find a job, and they still stay. Okay. And then you have those who drop it and say, no, this is not working. I'm gonna go find a job and work, and then come back a few years later and build something. Okay. Then you have a few that have come from employment and say, I had a cush job somewhere, maybe in the West or wherever, and I come and start building. Now, we also have, at least I've seen bootstrappers, okay, say, okay, I have this product, but I also have these other services that are financing the startup. But in actual sense, it's a money-eating machine. The startup is just consuming, and it's not bringing in the money. And they're doing consulting on the side, okay, and providing maybe software development or other services. And that is what is fueling. That's what is actually supporting that. So to your question, what should entrepreneurs do? Real entrepreneurs should just continue building and should not be kind of discouraged by the size of what business they're building. I think we have, my friend told us that we've been sold a lie, the Silicon Valley lie, that, like I think the tweet we shared, that you have the 20 or 19, a teenager who made it, and then Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates drops out of school, and then Steve Jobs just attends a few classes, barefoot, and then they succeed. Yeah. Okay, but that's not. Even for the majority of the US or the startup ecosystem and the companies on the NASDAQ, I mean, you won't even find. I don't think you'll find even 1%. Okay, that builds that way. So where does that leave us? It leaves us to actually wake up that and know that you're not going to just be ignorant and naive, and start something and then it succeeds. So if you're not reading, you're going to have a hard time talking to me and trying to convince me. Yeah, especially if you. I'll give you this story. So one of my friends that when I was doing my grad school in the UK. So one of my friends was this guy we had also been with at my career, but he was doing mechanical engineering, and now he was doing a master's in IT. And we used to meet up every weekend. He was at a different university, so I'll ride to his university. We chat, we talk, and we brainstorm on ideas, and we could do this when we go back. I can deal with this. But like 40 to 50% of the time, he would come up with ideas, suggest ideas that had been pitched on TV. But he told me he doesn't watch TV. And I say, have you watched Dragon's Den or Shark Tank? And he says, no, I don't watch TV. It's a waste of time. But this idea you're suggesting, someone pitched it and it wouldn't work like this and that. And this is the feedback the investors gave it. So if you don't read, okay, and you're trying to build, or you're not informed, maybe reading, you may watch videos, you may, but, find a way to inform yourself of what are you playing into. So you want to be an entrepreneur, okay, but what type of entrepreneur? Okay, I want to travel, but to where? Okay, maybe
anywhere not here. That's what they answer.
Anywhere not here, yes. And anywhere not here, you can travel on a bicycle. You can go by motor. Another person may go by bus. Okay. Another one will fly. Okay. So depending on the destination is going to determine the vehicle you're going to use. So the vehicles we use to build the preparation we need for the destination we are going to. Okay, I like scripture, and this angel, I think an angel tells Elijah, wake up and eat. Okay, he eats some little and then eat more, because the journey you're going to start is going to be long. And it's more or less the same with us, that if you determine that you want to build whatever valuation company, okay, or revenue company, then you need to work out what is going to go into that. Yes, hard work is going to go into that, but what type of hard work? Okay, so that you're not again operating from, I'm working hard, but no results. Okay. You're working hard, trying to turn around, pushing a motorcycle and not turning on the engine. Okay. Okay. And you're working hard. Okay. You may be, pulling it instead of jumping on top of it and igniting and or fueling it. Yeah. So, and I think those are the things we need to do. So back to the point of market creating, or are we going to wait for government? Yes and no. Okay. But why did you wait? What are you doing? I like my friend Clarice's testimony one time. She was talking about back in COVID, during COVID. And she's talking about their journey, e-commerce journey, and says we were building and we were doing this, and then when COVID hit, or when opportunity came, it found us ready. So if you sit and are doing nothing, and you're just saying, "No, I'm waiting, it's just not going to work." But first and foremost, I think what all of us need to, as entrepreneurs, as innovators, what we need to first establish, what kind of journey am I going on to? What kind of journey, what destination do I want? If I want to go to Nairobi, sure fact, I can jump on a bus in Nyabugogo. Okay, and I'll be there maybe in 48 hours. Okay, and if I'm going to go to Nyabugogo, I can basically, Nyabugogo is a bus park by bus. If I'm going to go there by bus, I can leave here on a motor or even on a bicycle, get to the bus park and jump in, and off I go. But if I'm going by plane, then I need to have my act together that 3 hours or 2 hours, I need to have checked in. My ticket is more expensive than the guy who's going to go by bus. My preparations are also different. I need to go through scanning and everything, and No one is going to scan me at Nyabugogo getting into the bus. Okay. And no one is going to ask me for 3 hours, or even an hour. I just need to show up on the time, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, as long as I have my ticket. Now, if I'm going to the US or Europe, my preparations are also going to be different from someone who's going to Nairobi. Because in Nairobi, he'll go in maybe with an ID. In the US, he needs a visa, and he needs to apply for the visa maybe for an appointment, maybe 3 months ahead. Yeah. So the vehicle I'm going to use, the destination I'm going to, feeds into the preparation that I need to make. If I want to build a unicorn like all of us wish to, then there's a lot of preparation. How many employees am I going to have? If I'm going to have more than a certain number of employees, then that means I also need to put in place certain. If I'm going to attract money, if I need to attract outside money into my business, and I'm not bootstrapping, there are requirements. There's due diligence that is going to be required. There's preparation, shareholder agreements. There's cap tables. I need to have a clear understanding of valuation of. So you realize that whatever journey it is, I need to prepare. And I think that's where some frustrations come from, that we don't know, or we have let me put it this way bluntly, we have some wishful thinking. Yeah. That we have seen so and so in a movie, writes code, becomes a billionaire or a millionaire. Yeah. But we don't know what's happening in the background. They don't show us what's happening in the background. Yeah. Okay. The work that needs to go into. And that, I think, is where sometimes we falter. And that is two ways. It's both on our side as ecosystem builders. Yeah. As much as it's on the entrepreneur. Okay. And in an ecosystem, and that word we use it loosely, but I don't think we go to the depth of understanding how ecosystems work in a biological sense, from the biological sense, that let's take a forest or whatever, in a bio environment. What will happen is that you'll find that you have insects that are contributing to the ecosystem, tiny as they are, and their absence in that ecosystem could actually destroy it. Mm. You find that there's fruits that fall off not all fruits are eaten or are harvested. Some of them fall off the road, and then there's and then in animal wild in a wild environment, you still also find that to have this animal in this ecosystem, you need this other animal, and then you need this other thing. So it's not, as plain, or are we just going to have unicorns? Okay, we're only going to build high growth startups.
Yeah.
No. So you need the MSMEs as much as you need the SMEs, as much as you need the individual consultants, the gig guys. Okay. And then you need your scientists, and you need maybe you need your high growth entrepreneurs. Okay. So not all of us are meant to be entrepreneurs. But if you think you'll become an entrepreneur, it's better you start early. Mm. Okay. So if that is you start early. So the first, I think they could say fail fast. Yeah. Failing quickly and fast. So you know what not to do. Maybe it's not for you. And switch, or you still, you need certain things to get into place so that you can start. So that's the I think those are the dynamics that we don't maybe take into consideration sometimes. And so we find ourselves in a situation where we want it to work now. Okay. And we want only these type of companies. But you can't build an environment. I think I was watching a movie, and they're saying that we either exist in a zoo or we survive in the wild, so if you're going to survive in the wild, which is the startup space, then you need you need a certain stomach. You need certain things. You need to inform yourself. You need to put in a certain level of work.
Yeah.
And then,
No, man, you're putting it the right way. I think it's something that I'm definitely learning as well. Now we've been building for the last 7 years plus, and just learned so much about just being in the arena and taking the punches and throwing the punches as well. So I want to touch on 2 points on what you just mentioned there. So the first one is, so I'm a believer, and I debate this a lot with other founders, but also, I do get other points on this. I'm a believer that a startup, when you're building a startup, you can't spend too much time building a plan, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? So, the point that the example you gave about the destination, right? It's the same as the Rome, example that people always say. And one thing that I literally tell everybody on my team every day is that we want to go to Rome. It's clear that we're going to Rome, but the route we're going to take does not matter.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be too particular with the way to get there.
Yeah.
We should be particular in, we want to go there. We can.
Where are you going? Yes.
But it's like, we can see it there. Somebody can take this route. Somebody else can take this route. As long as we get there.
Yeah.
Right. The number one goal is getting there. Let's say, for example, if there's a specific time, you shouldn't care how I got there. It's the same thing that goes to employees as well. If you give an employee a problem to solve, you shouldn't care how they did it. You should be like, I trust
you need to be at 7 a.m.
Exactly. And I trust you to use your intelligence. That's why we hired you, because you're an intelligent person. Use whatever means you have at your disposal to solve this problem, as long as it's solved at the end of the day, right? And you didn't mess up anything in the process. So, or sometimes you might want to go to Rome, but once you start the journey, you're like, oh, actually, I don't really like Rome. From what I'm seeing, there's rain happening at Rome. I would rather be in Spain.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to change direction. Why? Because I started a journey, and maybe I realized that my, dream of going to Rome
is not going to get me there.
Exactly. Or I just don't like Rome anymore.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Which is where we see companies pivoting.
Yeah.
It's like we started wanting to build a messaging app. Oh, we realized, no, actually, maybe whatever reason, we ended up building a social network.
Yeah.
And then maybe actually succeeded. So what I'm trying to understand is, how much plan should you have versus this other notion of build the most iterative business? Like, launch as quickly as possible in 2 days, test it out in 2 days, change it, and then keep moving. Because if you have too much of a plan, sometimes you end up with entrepreneurs who have wishful thinking. It's like they're building a company they prefer. It's like and I'm just thinking.
I think it comes down to the principles of building, especially if you're an artist. Is you build quickly or fail fast, like we're saying. Now that the planning needs to be within that space, within that thinking. Okay, so what are the principles? So the first principles we're thinking through with are that we iterate quickly. Okay, so if we iterate quickly, doesn't remove the planning. What it does is, okay, you're going to Rome. and you may change along the way. Fine. But to get to Rome at this time, okay, if to get to Rome within 24 hours, yeah, you need a certain vehicle and the route that you're going to take. Okay. If you want to get to Rome sometime in your lifetime, then fine, you can even start walking. Yeah, you can start walking. I think we're already seeing examples for people that are trying to cross, unfortunately, in the north, crossing the seas because there's water between us and Europe. Yeah. So you'll walk from here up north, get to the closest, I think, maybe Morocco. Yeah. Tangier or something like that. And then along that, figure out how you get on a ship to the other side. Yeah. But yeah, maybe that could be in 2030. Okay. You could take a bike. But you also still need to plan for what you're going to eat along the journey. So the principle here is that on where the destination that you want to go and the vehicle or the route you have to go is okay, but within what time frame?
Should you have a time frame for things?
Yeah, I think
Elon Musk says he wants to go to Mars, but he says maybe before I die, I want to have reached there. He does have a little bit of a time frame.
Yeah.
But again, he always keeps not delivering in that time frame. It's always like, oh, maybe in another 5 years.
Yeah. So the time frame, I think, is not that I know that it is important, because human beings, we have a limited time, whatever you want to call it, even if it's 100 and something years, you have a working, functional time that is you're going to be energetic and able to do things, and time that you're not going to be able to do things. So you need to have a time frame. Okay, where am I going? At what time do I need to get there? I think the president puts it that fast and far. Okay, I think that's fast and far. And so fast and far is because, especially for Rwandan entrepreneurs, because what we're trying to do is we're playing a catch-up game. Okay, we're competing. We're in the real world. So if you decide that, you can get there anytime, fine. I doubt you'll get a team to go with you, because they have lives, and their lives have a limited time, and they have desires and needs and things that they need to achieve. So if you sell them, we go to, okay. But for me, within my plans, I need to be at this point in my life earning X amount. Okay. Because at this time in my life, I need to be, I'll either have kids, and then I have these responsibilities. And then at this other stage, I'll need to be retiring, and then without. So you can't have time. It can't be elastic. So you need to know. Okay, fine. Now that doesn't mean that we need to compact everything in 2 years. We need to compact everything in 5 years. Yeah, within 2050. Okay, but somewhere it needs to be there, because it's a fact of life. It's like gravity.
Yeah. There's this other notion that I'd love to pick your brains on. I think Paul Graham talks about it a lot, all right, of Y Combinator. Very smart guy, really drops a lot of great stuff about, he's seen a lot of founders build great companies, right? So I think it's worth listening to what he has to say. And I think he said something which is now stuck in my head now, and I think I'm implementing it as an entrepreneur, where he says that if you really, when you speak to a lot of founders, we want to build solutions to solve a problem for a lot of people. But he says that if you can build a solution that actually works for you, and I think I even tweeted about it the other day where I was like, use your own product before you ask others to.
Yeah.
And he says that because how would you know what a million people need? Like a million people, sure. But who knows what they need? I don't think everybody, these are a million different people, different age groups, different backgrounds and whatever. But he said, if you can get 5 people, 500, 100 people to use your product and really, really, really love using it, then maybe you might be able to get to 1 million people.
Yeah.
But also they also put it the way that, if you're able to take one person and say, when you're starting your company, take one person and say, okay, great, Alex, I'm going to try and solve a problem that you have somewhere in your life every day. Okay, tell me when you wake up, this and this and this. Maybe we figure out, maybe you have a problem of not waking up early. Great. Okay, and then I say, okay, I'm going to brainstorm the best solution to help you wake up early. And every day I'm going to be testing it out with you. And I'm going to be asking you, hey, what happened today when we implemented whatever?
Yeah.
It's an alarm that we created. And then we test it every single week. And you are just the only customer that we have as a company. And then we say, great. And now maybe after a week, you say, actually, I'm starting to wake up early. This thing is actually helping me. And then we ask you, can you pay for it? You're like, yeah, of course. I'm willing to pay to try it out because I really care about this problem. Here's $2 a month. And then we continue building for you. They say, right, that that's probably one of the best ways to create a company. Because if you can get one person to just absolutely love it, because now Alex is going to go around telling people, hey, this is the tool I use to wake up early, guys. And he's going to be your strongest advocate to get out the users. You can make money like that. As opposed to how all of us, after watching a nice movie, we all want to build a solution for, we want to have tap and go adopted by the government and everybody using it so we can get rich quicker.
Yes.
What do you think about that? And from the entrepreneurs you work with and you collaborate with, what are you seeing? What are you learning from the years of experience? And what is the best approach into building up that stickiness of a product?
So the stickiness of the product. So the example you gave, it really depends a lot on the network Alex has. Okay. So if you're building for Alex, how big is that market that is like Alex, that maybe has a challenge waking up early? So, and
it's big.
I mean, again, it depends how much money do you want to make out of this? Because you need to figure out, okay, is the $2 Alex is going to pay going to cover the cost of me building for him? Okay. If we take that $2 times 1,000 Alexes, does it still pay for me putting in all this effort for my whole team working on this product? So understanding, again, goes back to the earlier point, your destination. Understanding what environment you're playing in. Yeah. What is there? I think Nicholas from Nosco, I remember we were talking and then he's asking me all these questions and then he says, how are people founding companies out of need or out of opportunity? Okay. So the difference being that I may be like the t-shirt you're wearing. I may be founding a company to employ myself and maybe my friends. Yeah. But not because the opportunity is too big. Yeah. And I can bring other people along. Or the problem in that case is too big that if I solve it, then I hit it. I hit the jackpot.
So isn't both of those examples going to the same outcome of employing yourself?
No, because I may start, if I'm chasing opportunity, I may even exit. Okay. But for you, and that's where you find someone builds a company and then they have to hire someone else because it's too big for their capability to run. And so whereas for you, without you, the company probably will collapse. And we see that quite a lot when the founder is out of the business collapses.
Yeah.
So the point being that there are different reasons people are starting companies, but what we should be looking at is, okay, is there really opportunity? So if I'm going to iterate several times on this, there's also a time I'm investing, I'm spending on this, and during that period, maybe I'm just spending money. So that's when you need to go back and reflect and say, okay, but is this will this in the end pay for itself, or is not going to pay for itself? And I think that's really what I would emphasize, and not to say that don't iterate or don't focus on that one person. Yeah. You can focus on that one person, but you need to understand the archetype, the persona that you're building for. But besides the persona you're building for, the how representative of the market is that persona.
Yeah. What was your answer to Nicola's question?
It's need. It's fact that we have high unemployment, and because of high unemployment, most of us have built and started out of need to solve our own problems, like you're saying, and because of that, that's where you find I get so married to my my prototype or my solution, that even iteration becomes a problem because someone is telling me to change this is not going to work, and then you take it personal, because you're now more or less
married to the idea.
Married to the idea, but that for me is not a problem. If you're young and you still have time, to learn and to maybe it still goes back to the ecosystem story that we're not going to take the same path. We're all not going to take the same path. And maybe I may take longer, but I may come by the time. Good example, although very unrelated. It's kind of related. So I met these entrepreneurs, Americans, they're Rwandans, but American, and they've been working on this, and they're old men. And the guy shows me the product they've produced, and he says the average age is 50 years. Of the team. They say, this is not for young people. It's in healthcare. So this is not entrepreneurship for young people or innovation for young people. This requires 30 years experience, 15, 20 years experience. Understanding patterns and understanding chemistry and biology and anatomy, for you to be able to produce this kind of product. So it's, if you're young and you're starting out, there's some areas where you may succeed, and there's some where you won't, some that are more demanding. Again, it comes back to kind of ecosystem and where you want to go. But if you fail, it's also fine. Go get a job. You get experience. By the way, what I've also realized that from the so many years is that some people that fail as entrepreneurs, because of the experience, the entrepreneurship experience, they are great problem solvers in employment. Okay, they get employed and, yes, because they have been struggling on this other side. And the day they decide to come back to entrepreneurship, they're gonna kill it. Mm-hmm. Okay, because on top there's these chunks, and that's really all pieces and parts of the of an ecosystem. It's not one-sided. We're all not going to do it the same way. We're all not going to end up in the same place. But wherever we end up, most likely you're employing someone I may invest in 5 years. Okay, so who am I to say that what you're doing is not worth it? The MSME that is struggling somewhere or even is succeeding somewhere, they're building a customer base, that maybe Weve will supply. Yeah. Okay, so it's these kind of interactions or interconnectedness. Yeah, and the sooner we realize that interconnectedness, like our bodies, how our bodies work, you have cells, they die every day, and then new ones are created, and then blood flows in, and the day just one piece or maybe a small finger, and then you realize the entire body is dysfunctional. Yes, because you caught a flu. Yeah, and the rest and everything is down. That's when you realize, so all along this silly thing that seems to be useless, actually, contributes to the entirety. So that, I think for me, that's the framing, that's the thinking, and that's how I'm looking at things. Yeah. And for entrepreneurs, for innovators, get a job. Don't be shy. Don't feel bad. Okay, if you need to bootstrap, if you need to go get a job to pay for your passion, we don't know. At least for our case in Rwanda, 60% of the people or 70% of the people that will listen to this are most likely going to be young people, younger. So that means there's a lot of room to be able to get it right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. And also there's a famous thing about the way to live life is that a lot of entrepreneurs are scared of failing, but they don't realize that, number one, a lot of people don't really care that much. They're going to see it and be like, oh, you shut down. Oh, sorry. You get a few comments on your post. Yeah. For one day, everybody else goes back to whatever they're doing. So you're afraid of that, exactly, right? But then the other thing is that for entrepreneurs who are still in the game, if anything, what you get is respect. People just respect you a lot more. They're like, yeah, actually, a lot of people on panels or whatever, but then they don't build, right? But then you've actually tried something and didn't work out. Great, move on. You can use that knowledge to do something else. Alex, you are the CEO of Rwanda ICT Chamber.
Yes.
What do you spend your time doing at Rwanda ICT Chamber?
Thinking about market creation. So talking to entrepreneurs, working with entrepreneurs, but also working with policymakers and builders, people that are building the infrastructure, if I may call it, that we need for things to run, whether that infrastructure is legal, policy, or it's financial, but also or talent, for that matter. And that's really talking to companies and listening to entrepreneurs, whether they're old, young, so on, and reading as well, but also trying to see globally what's happening, what direction
Yeah.
This is the environment I'm playing in, taking.
Yeah.
Okay. So these days, the buzz is AI for this, AI for that. So I need to understand how that's working. But also we have a great opportunity on our hands to create jobs or facilitate that process for our people, because the 2050 vision that we have is not going to just fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
It requires work. It requires that we prepare. It requires that we have that the talent that is coming out of school or wherever actually finds opportunity. And so creating opportunity is my obsession. How do we create opportunities? Whether that opportunity is for a big company, for startups, for individuals. Yesterday, I was at the launch of one of the GBS, or Global Business Services Company, or GEMBA, and that is so I'm there, and I see a lot of these guys that at one point I've interacted with, either as at K-Lab or in entrepreneurship, and we're chatting, and they're giving me, I'm at this company, and we have 40 people, and by the way, we've hired X number from your programs, and we're looking for this. But I also know that that guy at some point a few years ago, he was the one that we were creating opportunity for. Okay, now he's a leader, and he's also now creating opportunity for other people. So, and again, that's really the network effect of things. That what can we do that will move the needle, that kind of has a network effect, or a multiplier effect, that if I support or I help bag innovation on something, then they're going to create an extra 4 or 5 jobs or roles that are going to go towards maybe from families that the 3, 4, 5 people households. So that money is going to go to that community. So that's how you get a vision 2050, where people have money in their pockets and they're prosperous and so on. So that's really what I think. And then whatever is in the middle. So is it education? Is it infrastructure? Is it funding? Is it, do we need to look at now, especially now? I think we've had a long play of just software entrepreneurship or internet entrepreneurship. Okay. Building things on the cloud, and then, digitization in essence. So, and globally, that maybe it doesn't even need to be globally. There's a shift, towards more science, more STEM. And how do we think about that? How do we prepare for that? What do we need to put in place when it comes to life sciences, when it comes to manufacturing, and we use fourth industrial revolution technologies, but those are many. Okay, blockchain is one of them, AI is one of them, but so is IoT and computer-aided engineering and all these other things that are happening, or bioprinting. Yeah. So, and that's the calibration that we need to make. At the same time, thinking also about the MSMEs and the SMEs. Yeah. And working, because you have, for a digital economy to work, you don't only have any economy, not even digital economy. You don't only need supply. So the companies that come out of all our initiatives, most of them is supply. They are building technologies, they're building solutions, they're building. Okay. But what about demand? How's the demand? And it's very easy to say, oh, we need government to work on public procurement for innovation so that they can contract. Okay, fine. Let's assume also that is being, but what about the rest of the economy? Okay. Whether it's tourism or mining or agriculture. Yeah. How do we stimulate demand? Back to your market creation. Market creation. Yeah, market creations. How do we stimulate demand? Through awareness, capacity building, training of sorts, but also bridging that layer. Okay. If you look at the work, the conversations we have with Mineduc on EdTech Mondays, or the programs that we've been working with them most recently, it was the robotics, the robotics competitions. Okay, all that stimulates demand. So now the EdTech companies that are building products for EdTech, when they showcase, so these guys are not weird, or these guys are not people who are just unemployed and trying to find something to do, but they're serious about products they're building, and they can work in the education sector. So you have testimonies from all sorts of testimonies from educators talking about who they're working with, and that opens up, gives confidence to another educator that, you can work with this company, or in e-commerce. Yeah. So when we work with the e-commerce players and then bring on board the MSMEs, we've done that. MSMEs go digitalizing MSMEs, and on this other side we have the e-commerce players, Murukari, Ruwafuba, Lado, and others. And to see, okay, how do we match this? So when COVID hit, there was at least a framework that we're playing in. So it for us, as I think the traditional wording is trade facilitators, okay, trade facilitation agents or services or whatever. Is to see how do we enable that? How do we smooth that? Because if you don't, how much money do you have in convening? Yeah. So your cost of operating as a business, especially in a small market, just goes higher. But if you meet these people at an event, a networking event with educators, or a networking event with policymakers, with whoever is in your smaller ecosystem of edtech or e-commerce or internet connectivity and so on, that pushes you a long way. So, or FinTech Fridays that we do.
Yeah.
So, and that's what our team spends time working on. And also, recently we're working very closely with Rwanda Revenue to see on EBM, and there's a EBM task force that has been set up to see how do we help. One, it's two-sided. How do we help the user experience, to improve?
Yes,
for taxpayers, and how can RRA help our basically help them onboard more businesses as MSMEs and all the other taxpayers.
Yep.
But that's integrations that are needed. Okay, that's opening up APIs and so on and so forth. So there are very many dynamics that are going on in the background, and it's operators. It's the people that were within the meeting yesterday are people that are actually what they call CIS, Certified Invoicing System providers. Okay. And they're giving feedback. And I say, oh, well, no, that you can build and then give to us. Or that you can do. And, or this we can do together. And that now, gets us closer, to having a coherent, market system. Now, someone will say, oh, you're babysitting and yeah. but that's
somebody needs
sorry.
Somebody needs to, right?
Yeah. But someone needs to do that.
Yeah. There was another tweet that somebody tweeted, which I found very interesting. He's a founder in Nigeria. He say that in Africa, you can't just sell software alone. You have to sell software and services on top of that, right? And that is a very interesting, thing to point out, because when we also look at SMEs, the difference between SMEs and startups, right? Hopefully you can tell me how you view that, especially in all the work that you do in supporting both of them. What do you think about that? Why is it still hard to sell only software? And you still have to, on top of that. And then he also added another point, is that you actually use software internally so you can manage the margins, right? So the customer sometimes doesn't need to even know that you use software. They just need to get their service in whatever means that is available to them. And then if you use software internally, great, manage your margins. And then maybe later at some point you will let the software out. What do you think about that?
It goes back to what you were talking about earlier, which is use the product first. And if you go by that thinking, that, okay, use the product first. So if I'm using product first, my product first, and let's take a very classic example, myself, I'm doing, say, some livestock farming. Okay. And I want to know what's happening at the farm when I'm not there. Okay. So I can't be calling the guy the whole time. So what will I do? I build a simple tool to give me that information. But I meet with my friend who tells me, I'm having trouble. They're telling me this cow has issues, or this cow hasn't done this, So what am I going to do? Then, I can recommend. So if I can, okay, here's a tool. This is a tool I'm using. Maybe it could help you. I think the agreement I have with what they're saying, is that for a while, what we have bought into is that you build the software and then there's a market. Okay. But in the absence of that market, what do you do? So hence you find that I will consume, I need to be a consumer first. Yeah. And I think that's where he's going. Yeah. That I need to be a consumer first, because after all, the money is not being made on the software. It's the milk I sell that makes money. The software helps me for efficiency. Now, of course, I could go deeper and look and develop something, maybe probiotics processing, and then getting another leg into the value chain, the milk value chain. And then that now, and I could apply science and and then begin to build now a scalable product. But most of the software on the continent, I can't even say that, they are replacing infrastructure weaknesses. Okay, so even mobile money or M-Pesa, why did it succeed? Is because one, you have a financial inclusion challenge, gaps, big gaps. Yeah, that the infrastructure, the banking infrastructure could not catch up, could not fill that gap. And this solution actually could. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have rather landlines, fixed lines, and mobile phones came. When mobile phones came, to a degree, you find that most of what we're solving for are gaps that maybe exist in our market and somewhere else they've already solved. And most of that is digitization, literally. What we've been working on for the last 10, 15 years has been around digitization. Now, after you've digitized, what happens? Then you get into the real exciting stuff. Because you have data, because you have seamless, because you have integrations, you have communication. That communication can work. You could plug, you can plug an API from NIDA and plug an API from Mineduc and maybe TransUnion, and you build a product for students, a credit product for students. You could even layer it up with a financial institution. So you're an API, literally, company. Okay. Yeah. You've built nothing. Okay. But for that to happen, you've just basically assembled a set of APIs that complete a certain service. Okay, or that enable a certain service. But the service, really, the guy who's going to make money at the end of this tale is the lender. And it's not the software guy. The software guy will charge maybe $50 per subscription or $100 per subscription. But the $100, let's even take, how many of those do you need to sell? Okay. Whereas the lender will lend 100 million. Yeah. And it could be to two people. Yeah. And will charge 16, 18 or 10%. So the products we build, you can even take, you find that you need to find so many. I think that's what this tweet, this is where he was going. You find that you need to find so many people like that in order for you. So a good news that came out yesterday, one of the startup news is Jali Finance. I don't know if you're familiar with Jali Finance.
I know Felix.
Felix. So acquired KoiPay. Okay. Which was part of the Group Air ecosystem. Or KoiPay was another startup. Okay, that was in the payments. Okay, now what are they? So they're bringing together. Jali Finance lends money to lends for motorcycle acquisition, for asset financing. His business is pure asset financing. Okay, and now is bringing on board the tech that bring the exponential growth to the business. But the core business is asset financing.
Yeah.
Now, if you asked KoiPay, how many, as they stood, yeah, how many customers he needs to acquire to make, say, $1 million in revenue, you may find that it's maybe 10 times. Okay, what now they need, because now they just need the motorcycle, a few motorcyclists, and they'll be able to get them. But even the margins are much better.
What's going to be the use case there?
They are lending. Somewhere the use case is really improving experience of the borrowers. First, the efficiency that is going to happen is that you can borrow fast. You can finance you could even do daily. Okay. versa. Yeah. So if you collect X amount on a daily basis or even in real time, you could literally say you're paying back the loan.
Yeah.
Right. When the right guy pays, you also pay.
Right.
So the integration, this partnership, and you can even see it in there's a colleague who did for us some analysis and showed us clearly that even in the US, even in the West, that you find that Apple and Goldman Sachs come together to do Apple Pay. Okay, and that's what they create ends up being more valuable than the companies that are building only in their own ecosystem. Okay, so I think going back to his point is to see how do we connect. Okay, so how do we connect so that the brick and mortar, which tend to have a lot of transaction and a lot of revenue, plugs into the tech and gets the exponential, the fuel, the rocket fuel for them to run. So that journey is faster, for both of them than when each of them is trying to go alone. Okay. And coming back to the types of businesses we need to be building, I think in our case on the continent, I think it's digital businesses rather than just tech businesses.
What's the difference?
The difference being that you have different levels of dependency on digital. Whereas the digital intensive companies, say I'm purely a software provider and that's all I do. So for you should need to find a market for software consumers. But if I'm a digital business, I may be a financial institution that is dependent on digital, that maximizes all what we have seen in the energy space. The energy space, they're lenders. They're lending solar panels. Their product is actually non-solar panels, if you realize. Their product is money. They're lending. So, but the collection, because Momo enables them to collect the money easily. So they can lend you, they can credit score you easily. And so they're digital businesses, but they're energy companies and their mortgage, if you want, they're digital businesses. They're digital dependent businesses. Same thing with hotels. Okay, that are especially the big ones that are digitized. Okay, they're on Booking, on Expedia, on so on. So their clients come through digital channels. Okay, and if their payment systems are not working at the counter or at the checkout, their credit card point of sale systems are not working, they'll die. Okay, they'll die. But what are they selling? They are selling rooms, but they are digital. So I think the key thing is we need, yes, with all the effort that we're doing, we need more digital businesses in order to create a base for tech businesses to be able to thrive. Okay, because that's the demand. And if we can find, and I think you have companies now doing education, even the Coursera's and the likes. So or even yourselves, you could say, oh, we are a placement agency. Okay. We are just a digital placement agency, and we maximize the tools that we're using. But the business model is probably not going to be so different than the guys, I won't mention names, but than your competitors, who are playing, bring in your hard copies, bring in your by the way, you need to have this degree and this degree and this thing for you to be you tell to that, but the core is placement, it's recruitment. And I think the mistake sometimes we make is we obsess on the tools, the efficiency tools that we're building, and we make them out to be the product. But the product is actually recruitment. And that's where the other ideas of saying, okay, build that customer base with or without the digital tools. As the digital tools are iterating, at least you begin to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that we want to appear to be tech startups.
Wishful thinking.
No. We, because that's also the pressure, the peer pressure that is. Alex won't call me, or minister will not recognize me, or whoever won't recognize me. This competition that is there, what they won't consider me. If I do not have the digital, if I do not say I'm a tech company, but the core business I'm running is mobility. Okay, is transport. Actually, mobility may also be transport, fancy, but it's transport. And understanding okay, I'm in the transport game, but I'm going to do it with tech so that I beat the competition, or so that I just improve my customer experience. Because I think we sometimes we obsess on the competition rather than our customers, and we lose it. We lose both. Competition takes off, and the competitors, rather the customers go to the competitors. You're just there. So that's
no. I think you we're definitely talking about the same thing here. Unless you have wishful thinking and you're too much.
We'll go to other countries.
We'll go to other countries, right? It's like, oh, this is not the right market. But I'm like, it doesn't matter. If you look at the biggest companies in the world, as you mentioned, it's not about the tech. It's not about all these fancy things. It's about the core of what they're offering. Right? If it's Apple, they sell computers. That's what they started doing. They were electronics obsessed individuals who just wanted to sell a computer you can use in your house. They were not talking about Apple Pay. They were not talking about all these things, right? And that's what made them successful. And I think for us, we start forgetting that, and we start getting into this whole, tech. But then, you have a founder pitching a product for farmers that is an app that runs on iOS. And you're like, okay, cool, very interesting.
So how many farmers are you targeting?
Or you build a product and you tell students that you have to pay $10 a month. Yes, you might get the students who go to private schools and their parents are rich and maybe they pay for it. But again, if you want to build a really big business, maybe that's not the right way to go. You might need to. I think also another thing is that many businesses, it might not be the product is bad. It might be potentially the target market as well. You're selling it to the wrong person, maybe, right? It's like maybe you've built something great, but the person you're trying to sell it to is not the right one. Maybe this is not meant to be a $100 billion company. It's meant to be
$2 million, and that should be fine.
That should be fine.
And that's the thing. That's where maybe should I call it a lie? But the obsession we've had also. And saying, oh, we want to build unicorns, or we want to build X valued companies. And I've been a participant in concocting that, so guilty. But we shouldn't shy away from saying, "Oh no, I was wrong." Okay, the valuation game does not work for us. You need to show me the money. You need to show me how much revenue you're generating. Build it and they'll come, or build something cool and then you'll find a business model at the end. Does not work. A revenue model at the end does not work for this market. So you need to figure out a workable revenue model for this environment before you can dream, or we'll take it to this other country, especially if you're playing in a digitization game, because that's where most of our tech companies are playing. It's digitization, and you could add AI to it, you could add blockchain, you could add whatever. 90% of what is being done will be digitization. Now, until we go beyond digitization and we go a little bit deeper, then you begin. There's a good example, I think, with the Israeli companies or entrepreneurs. From the get-go, they don't build for Israel. They build for the US and the European market. Okay? So unless you're building something from that point of view, that I'm building for the US market. And I'm not saying that it cannot be done. Actually, there's a few entrepreneurs who've done that, but there's also the privilege to have been based in the US, or at least have experience with that market. So until we come to that realization and say, no, I need to work around a revenue model that works for this place. Yeah. Otherwise, we chase illusions, the Silicon Valley illusions, maybe for another time, which is you could get funded by just an idea. In Africa, no one is just going to fund you with an idea. Yeah. You need to build something, show revenue, and then they'll fund you. Silicon Valley builds to sell to Wall Street. You don't have that connection. So I can finance you. If I'm in Silicon Valley, I don't really care so much. It's because I know if I fund you, if I'm the first person to fund you, it just needs to be good enough. The second person who funds you will double most likely double my money. If by the time it's on the fifth person, my money is 10x or 5x. Yeah. And if I wait until you exit, until you sell to Silicon Valley, it's rather to Wall Street, you go IPO, or someone acquires you, then it's another ballgame. So you realize that we're in different environments in many aspects.
But also, as you said, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's you get in, you take out your money.
Yeah, it is.
The other one gets in.
Yes,
the money.
Yeah, in a way, because I'm betting that someone is gonna come
exactly
next.
And the thing is that investor only supports you as a founder to get them to that point so they exit.
Yes.
They're like, I'm only going to get you there. It's not, I don't really care about you or care about the company that much. I see the opportunity. I'm smart.
Yeah.
I know the numbers. So I know somebody who's going to buy my shares if I get you there. So let's get you there. Well, let's push you super hard as a founder, the whole team to 10x the numbers, users, whatever. You're going to burn out along the way, but if you can't work, we're going to remove you, but another one.
And so someone who's going to drive this vision.
Exactly. And entrepreneurs are like, we don't really get that. We're very naive because maybe the first investment, then for you, it's like, oh, I'm the CEO of $100 million valued company. Like to you, that feels like the greatest achievement.
It's an achievement. And I think the other achievement has been, I've raised money and we celebrate fundraising more than we celebrate revenue. So you find even the statistics, I'm sure someone will call me soon and ask me, oh, there's this ranking, or there's African startups have raised X amount in Rwanda, they've raised this amount. So how much have they sold? How much revenue have those companies generated? How much profit have they returned to their investors? From revenue, not from valuation.
Yeah.
So that's I think the wake up call or the reset button we need to press.
Yeah.
And say, okay, how do we reset this so that it works for this environment? And not to be so kind of, doesn't mean that we need to contain our dreaming or contain our, but there's some things that are definitely not meant for here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you won't get a fish swimming in grass. It's just, that's not its environment. Okay. So you need to put it in water. And if it's beyond a certain size, the water also need to be a certain quantity or a certain size and a certain environment. So,
yeah.
So that's, I think, the wake-up call we need to have ourselves as ecosystem builders, as entrepreneurs, as innovators, founders, whoever it is playing in that, and just know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are the builders that you're looking up to right now on the continent, where you're like, okay, these guys are working on something cool?
I am so obsessed with Rwanda. I'm sorry. I know, and you read all these, but really the entrepreneurs that are building things and getting customers, those are the ones that they've taken a journey. I think they've just changed their name. Who's your former neighbors? Pesa Choice. Yeah. The journey they've taken, or Remy and the Pindo team carries UAS, the journey. Or Vuba, again, you see that I won't call it there's something they're obsessed with, as founders, as individual founders, and they've made it work, not necessarily because they've raised money, but because actually, it works. They have revenue. So that's, I think that's, for me, these are the, that's one group. Of course, there are the other smaller ones, or people may think. Academic Bridge has been building solid, and now they have a new product, Kudi Books. The one other, anyway, I can name names and then other people will crucify me for forgetting them. But there's several that, you look and say, I can learn something from what they're doing, or other people can learn from what they've done. Water Access Rwanda. Solid, Uzuri, it's the product. I think people need more of our entrepreneurs need to watch. Also, ecosystem builders need to watch Dragon's Den and Shark Tank and these type of shows to show you that you don't need to be an information systems or a tech IT founder to build a scalable business. Okay, you could be in manufacturing like Uzuri, or you could be in the water, in the engineering services space like Water Access, and you still build a scalable business. And now you could leverage the relevant technologies for that industry. Yeah, and make it that way. And I think that's also I won't speak for the government, but at least in philosophy that we're looking at innovation is not just ICT. Innovation is bigger than ICT. Yeah, and people can innovate in many sectors.
Yeah.
Maybe financial services, not in the distribution of finance, but in the financial product itself, in how it's modeled, how its risk is calculated, or how its risk is done. Yeah. So there's quite a lot. So those I've told you.
Yeah. And there's a lot.
Maybe I should just create a
top 10 list.
It's a top 10 list.
Every 3
like
months.
a dean's. It becomes like a dean's list. But
and what is a sector, right? When you look at it, and what is a sector that you would love to see more innovation being done in it, right? Let's not look at just, let's say, pure software. But where you're like, okay, there's an opportunity here, I can see it, and I would love to see more like smart people like looking at it and trying to identify solutions.
Life sciences.
Yeah, what is that?
So life sciences encompasses everything around. I don't know if these are the right words, but zoology, biotech, healthcare, but not healthcare of hospital management systems. More on the things that make us better. What medicines I'll take, or lifestyle. Then also in agriculture or animal health, crop science, and things in that direction. But then also on the production, on the processing side. Okay, so we're beginning to see, some young entrepreneurs that are coming up with new products. I like Zima, the ones that they do from pumpkin seed and things like that. Or my friend Regis, who does sweet potato focus. But there are micronutrients that could be extracted, that could be used in different, especially with the struggles we have with malnutrition and issues like that. So, or even the small land mass we have, that we cannot, you cannot grow maize like some countries that have too much land. You cannot grow. So we need to find what are those crops, or what are those foods that will give us the maximum with the minimum land, that the limitations that we have. If you're in livestock, how do I get the most out of few animals, whether it's weight for meat, for protein, or for milk, or with eggs, with chicken. So these kind of things that really cannot be disrupted by AI, mostly by AI, because if AI begins to write code tomorrow, it already does in a way. The generative AI does that. Then, of course, we cannot stand here and say that will not affect us. It will affect us. But we need now to know, okay, let us be the first ones that actually use it for these other things. So computational engineering, computational anything, is computational physics or chemistry, biology, and whatever it is, that now, okay, we are manipulating our environment, for all reasons, for our survival, for literally our survival, and that has a global need. Okay, if you, of course, some countries, developed countries, have already solved for some of these, but again, with the resources we have, with the different, because we have more countries that are similar to us in that regard, yeah, than they are similar to the West.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that resilience, especially food security. Yeah. Because that's going to be, it's a real challenge ahead. Although Africa has the biggest arable land. Yeah. You have 2 billion people coming up.
Yeah.
And
so they need to eat.
Yeah. They all need to eat.
They
all need to eat and they need health. Yeah.
Is this thing for everybody?
No, but that's why we invested in education, and we need to invest more and to create the environments. Yeah, like when we did back in the day when we started K-Lab or Fab Lab or all this, and then it catalyzed all these other hubs that came after. Yeah, and so now what we have with NOSCAN, but also the hubs in secondary cities in Musanze, we have similar facilities in Huye. So now we need to go into, if we're going into life sciences, we also need the similar infrastructure. If I can come and test biomaterials, come up with new things, I don't know what they call them, molecules. So whatever it is, really, I think we don't know what is out there until we have these places. And I can tell you clearly how we started Fab Lab is because we invited KIST students from KIST, from engineering and other departments. And then they told us, look, you don't have, this doesn't work for us. Because why? Because we are electrical engineering students, mechanical engineering students. K-Lab you only come with your laptop and you sit here. For me as a mechanical electronics engineering student, I need other things to be able to build or come up with. And fine, we created it and we realized, there's quite a lot of people there. Now we have the likes of Nyereka Tech, Magis, and all these companies that are building hardware. And in the past, actually, back in the day, we even used to say maybe hardware is not our thing. But now they're building hardware. So it's creating these spaces, facilities that unlock the potential, or that shine a light on the potential that you didn't know. And someone will say, but we have them in universities. No comment. What happens with what's in the universities, but it just doesn't work. You need to have them and have them accessible. Yeah, then we'll know. Because I think the biotech and the life sciences department that you are probably may have not less than 200 to 400 graduates a year. Yeah. So where do all these people go? Because RBC and RAB and a few pharmaceutical companies we have can't absorb all of them. Some of them need to be entrepreneurs. Some of them have brilliant ideas, but they have nowhere to test them. So health tech, needs to go beyond information systems.
Alex, thank you so much for the work that you've done for the ecosystem.
No, thank you. I've been working with other people.
And the work that you continue doing, right? I think it comes from pure passion about technology, problem solving, and really just looking at what can we do on the African continent, what kind of solutions can we bring up, starting with Rwanda and eventually taking companies out of here.
And there are companies that are coming here.
Absolutely. I think on the episode with Eve in the conversation, he did mention some of the policies that they're putting in place to get companies here. So that's going to be exciting to be able to let's say, even found companies with other people who are coming in with better ideas and stuff. I think that's going to be pretty cool.
Better or more experience than like the 30, the 50-year-olds that told me.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much. And very excited about the things that are coming up in our ecosystem, the new companies that are coming up. And yes, thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much. And thank you for building the talent base. Whatever the contribution that you're making is clear. So let's see. And I think the conversations is what they've said. I think the coffee houses of London and how they sparked innovation in the financial district is slowly beginning to happen here. And it's conversations that make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when people talk. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex.